Welcome back to the channel, Coin Hunters. Today we're diving into a fascinating journey through history and pocket change as we reveal the top 4 most valuable wheat pennies that collectors around the world are searching for right now. These tiny copper coins may look ordinary, but some of them can be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more depending on their rarity and condition, from hidden mint marks to incredible historical stories. Each of these pennies carries a unique mystery that could turn a simple 1-cent coin into a valuable treasure. So stay with us until the end, because the number 1 wheat penny on this list might be sitting in an old jar of coins, a forgotten collection, or even in your pocket change today. So get started. First up, the 1940 wheat penny belongs to the famous wheat cent series that ran from 1909 to 1958. These coins feature the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse side, you'll see 2 wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design became one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. Even though millions were produced, certain years and conditions have turned these coins into valuable collector pieces. When you hear the phrase "no mint mark," it might sound confusing at first. Many collectors think a missing mint mark means an error, but that's not always the case. For the 1940 wheat penny, the absence of a mint mark simply means the coin was struck at the main mint in Philadelphia. During that time, Philadelphia coins typically did not carry a mint mark, unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco. However, that doesn't make the coin ordinary. In fact, certain examples from Philadelphia are incredibly desirable when they appear in exceptional condition. More than 586 million 1940 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, which might sound like a massive number. But here's the twist that keeps collectors excited. The vast majority of those coins circulated heavily. They were used in everyday transactions during a time when pennies were essential for daily purchases. Because they circulated for decades, most surviving examples today show heavy wear, scratches, and fading details. That means high-grade coins are far rarer than the original mintage might suggest. Collectors pay close attention to the condition of a coin. In numismatics, coins are graded on a scale that ranges from heavily worn to pristine mint condition. If a 1940 wheat penny with no mint mark shows clear details in Lincoln's hair, sharp lettering, and bright original red color, it immediately becomes far more desirable. These high-grade coins are often labeled red by grading services, meaning the copper has retained its original color rather than turning brown from circulation and oxidation. Another reason this penny attracts collectors is its historical context. The year 1940 came just before the United States entered World War II. The country was recovering from the Great Depression while global tensions were rising. Coins produced during this period were used in an economy that was about to change dramatically. Just a few years later, the famous steel pennies of 1943 would appear because copper was needed for wartime materials. Because of that history, wheat pennies from the late 1930s and early 1940s often carry strong interest from collectors who love both coins and history. A simple penny becomes a small piece of the past, something that may have passed through countless hands during a critical moment in the world's timeline. Now let's talk about something even more interesting: varieties and subtle details. Some 1940 wheat pennies show sharper strikes than others. Collectors sometimes look for coins with especially strong details on Lincoln's portrait or crisp wheat lines on the reverse. These characteristics can make a coin stand out in auctions and collections. While major era varieties are rare for this year, exceptional strike quality and color can dramatically increase value. One of the biggest factors that determines the value of a 1940 wheat penny with no mint mark is whether the coin remained untouched for decades. Some of the most valuable examples were discovered in old bank rolls or long-stored coin collections. When coins are preserved in original rolls, they often avoid the wear and damage that most circulating coins experience. This means they can survive in stunning mint condition, something collectors are always eager to find. Many new collectors underestimate pennies because they're small and common in everyday life. But experienced coin hunters know that pennies are actually one of the most exciting areas of collecting. They are affordable to start with, widely available, and occasionally hide extremely valuable surprises. The 1940 wheat penny is a perfect example of this phenomenon. Another fascinating aspect of this coin is its copper composition. The 1940 wheat penny was made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Over time, copper coins develop a unique patina. Some turn deep chocolate brown, while others maintain a reddish glow. Collectors often prefer coins that still show their original red color because it indicates the coin was preserved carefully. If you ever come across a jar of old coins from a grandparent or family member, it's worth checking carefully for wheat pennies from the 1940s. Many people overlook them because they appear ordinary. However, small details such as condition, color, and strike quality can transform a simple penny into a collector's treasure. Professional grading also plays a major role in the coin market today. Organizations like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company evaluate coins and assign official grades. Once a coin is graded and sealed in a protective holder, collectors feel more confident about its authenticity and condition. This can significantly increase the coin's value when sold or auctioned. Many collectors spend years upgrading their collections by searching for better examples of the same coin. Someone might start with a worn 1940 penny and eventually replace it with a brighter, sharper version. This constant pursuit of quality is what keeps the coin collecting hobby exciting and competitive. And here's something that might surprise you. Even though millions were produced, extremely high-grade examples are incredibly scarce. Coins graded near the top of the scale, especially those with blazing red surfaces and almost perfect details, are considered elite pieces in the wheat penny series. The excitement becomes even greater when these rare high-grade coins appear at major auctions. Serious collectors from around the world compete to secure the best possible examples, and bidding can climb far beyond what most people expect for a 1-cent coin. One outstanding example of the 1940 wheat penny with no mint mark reached an impressive milestone when it appeared in a major auction conducted by Heritage Auctions. In exceptional MS-68 red condition, this tiny copper coin achieved a record price of about $11,500, proving that even a humble penny can become a valuable collector's prize when preserved in near-perfect condition. Stop for a second and imagine this. A small copper coin that most people would toss into a jar without a second thought could actually be worth far more than 1 cent. Hidden among millions of ordinary pennies is a specific coin that collectors constantly search for. The 1944 wheat penny with the D mint mark. At first glance, it may look like any other old penny, but the story behind this coin, its history, and its surprising value make it one of the most interesting coins from the mid-20th century. The 1944 wheat penny belongs to the famous wheat cent series that circulated in the United States from 1909 until 1958. The front of the coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the reverse side are 2 wheat stalks surrounding the words 1 cent, which is why collectors call these coins wheat pennies. This design became one of the most iconic coin designs in American history and remains extremely popular among coin collectors today. The small letter D mint mark found below the date on this coin tells us that it was produced at the United States Mint facility in Denver. During 1944, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies to support the growing economy during the later years of World War II. These coins were heavily used in everyday commerce, meaning most examples today show significant wear from circulation. What makes the 1944 wheat penny with a D mint mark particularly fascinating is the change in metal composition that happened during the war years. In 1943, the United States Mint temporarily switched from copper to zinc-coated steel because copper was needed for wartime equipment and ammunition. However, the steel pennies were unpopular because they rusted easily and looked similar to dimes. As a result, the mint returned to copper in 1944, but with an interesting twist. Many of the 1944 pennies were made using recycled shell casings from military ammunition. That means the copper in a 1944 wheat penny could literally come from recycled wartime materials. This unique historical connection makes the coin even more appealing to collectors and history enthusiasts. Every one of these pennies represents a small piece of wartime history that circulated through the hands of ordinary Americans during a critical moment in global history. Although millions of 1944 D pennies were minted, collectors know that condition is everything. Most of these coins circulated for decades and became worn down. The details on Lincoln's hair, the wheat stalks on the reverse, and the sharpness of the lettering often fade after years of use. Because of this, coins that remain in excellent condition are much harder to find and are far more valuable. Another factor collectors pay attention to is color. Copper coins gradually change color as they age. Some become dark brown, while others retain a bright reddish appearance. Coins that still show their original red color, often labeled red by grading services, are especially desirable. These coins typically spent little or no time in circulation and were preserved carefully in collections or coin rolls. Professional grading services, such as Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, evaluate coins and assign them grades based on condition. A higher grade can significantly increase the value of a coin because it confirms that the coin has exceptional quality. For collectors building high-end sets of wheat pennies, finding a 1944 D penny in pristine condition can be a major achievement. Some collectors also search carefully for unusual varieties or striking characteristics. While the standard 1944 D penny is already collectible, coins with especially sharp strikes, strong luster, and minimal marks are much more valuable than ordinary circulated pieces. These premium examples often end up in competitive auctions, where collectors bid against each other to secure the best coins available. Another interesting aspect of the 1944 D wheat penny is how commonly it appears in old coin jars and inherited collections. Because so many were produced, people still discover them today while searching through rolls of pennies or family coin collections. This is one reason the coin remains exciting. There's always the possibility that a rare high-grade example could still be hiding somewhere. Collectors constantly encourage beginners to check their old pennies carefully. Many people overlook coins from the 1940s because they assume they are too common to be valuable. However, condition, color, and rarity within the grading scale can transform a simple penny into a highly sought-after collectible piece. One remarkable example of the 1944 wheat penny with a D mint mark demonstrated just how valuable this coin can become when preserved in extraordinary condition. At a major auction hosted by Heritage Auctions, a superb MS 68 red example achieved a price of around $9,400, showing that collectors are willing to pay thousands of dollars for the finest known specimens. So if you ever come across a 1944 wheat penny with a small D mint mark beneath the date, don't ignore it. Take a closer look, examine its condition, and consider having it evaluated by a professional grading service. What seems like an ordinary penny might actually be a valuable coin that collectors everywhere are still searching for today. Stop for a next. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins and pulling out a small copper penny that most people would overlook instantly. Yet that tiny coin could actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to collectors. Hidden among millions of ordinary pennies is a specific coin that continues to attract attention in the coin collecting world, the 1942 wheat penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it may look like an everyday coin, but its history, rarity in top condition, and strong collector demand make it a valuable piece that many people still search for today. The 1942 wheat penny is part of the famous wheat cent series, produced from 1909 through 1958. On the front of the coin, you'll see the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, making it the first U.S. circulating coin to feature a real historical figure. The design was created by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the reverse side are two wheat stalks surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America, which is why collectors call these coins wheat pennies. When a 1942 penny does not have a mint mark below the date, it means the coin was struck at the United States Mint facility in Philadelphia. During that era, the Philadelphia Mint did not place mint marks on most of its coins, while coins produced in Denver or San Francisco carried a small D or S mark. Because of this, the majority of 1942 pennies without mint marks originated from Philadelphia. In 1942, the United States was entering a critical period in history as the country became involved in World War II. Coins produced during this time were part of an economy rapidly shifting toward wartime production. Copper was an important metal needed for military equipment ammunition, and communication systems. This growing demand eventually led to a major change in penny production just 1 year later, when the famous steel cents were introduced in 1943. The 1942 wheat penny therefore represents one of the final years before that historic metal change. These coins were still made from the traditional composition of 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. Because copper ages over time, many surviving examples have developed deep brown or chocolate colors after decades of circulation. More than 1 billion 1942 pennies were produced across all mints, and a huge portion came from Philadelphia. While that sounds like a massive number, most of these coins circulated heavily for many years. People used them for everyday purchases like groceries, newspapers, and bus fares. Because of that constant use, the majority of surviving coins today show significant wear. This is where the story becomes interesting for collectors. The true value of a 1942 wheat penny with no mint mark depends heavily on its condition. Coins that are heavily worn may only be worth a small premium above face value, but coins that remain in extremely well-preserved condition can be dramatically more valuable. Collectors pay special attention to details, such as Lincoln's hairlines, the sharpness of the lettering, and the wheat stalks on the reverse side. If those details remain crisp and clear, it means the coin avoided years of heavy circulation. Even more desirable are coins that still display their original bright reddish copper color, often called red by professional grading services. Professional grading companies, such as Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, evaluate coins and assign official grades based on their condition. Coins that receive very high grades become extremely desirable to serious collectors who are building top-quality wheat penny collections. Some collectors spend years searching through coin rolls and old collections, hoping to discover a high-grade example that has survived in near-perfect condition. It's not unusual for rare top-grade coins to appear unexpectedly in old coin jars, inherited collections, or forgotten bank rolls. This possibility is one of the reasons coin hunting remains so exciting for collectors around the world. Another fascinating aspect of the 1942 wheat penny is how accessible it is for beginners. Unlike some rare coins that are extremely difficult to find, wheat pennies still appear regularly in old collections. That means anyone willing to check their coins carefully might stumble upon one of these historic pieces. And while many examples are common, the finest known coins can be extremely valuable when they appear at major auctions. When collectors compete for the highest grade coins available, prices can rise far beyond what most people expect for a simple penny. One remarkable example of the 1942 wheat penny with no mint mark demonstrated this perfectly when it appeared at a major auction organized by Heritage Auctions. A superb coin graded MS 67 red sold for around $13,800, proving that a 1-cent coin can become an incredible collector treasure when preserved in outstanding condition. Stop for a next before you ignore that old copper penny sitting in a coin jar or tucked inside a drawer. Consider this surprising reality. Some of the most valuable coins in the world once looked just like ordinary pocket change. Among those hidden treasures is the 1939 wheat penny with no mint mark, a coin that many people overlook even though collectors know it can be far more valuable than its 1-cent face value. At first glance, the 1939 wheat penny looks simple, but it belongs to one of the most famous coin series in American history. The coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. When this design was introduced in 1909, it made history because it was the first circulating U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real historical figure rather than a symbolic image. On the reverse side of the coin, 2 wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, which is why collectors call these coins wheat pennies. If your 1939 penny does not have a mint mark beneath the date, that means it was struck at the historic United States Mint facility in Philadelphia. During that time, the Philadelphia Mint typically did not place mint marks on its coins, while coins produced at Denver or San Francisco carried a small D or S mint mark. Even though millions of these coins were produced in Philadelphia, finding one in outstanding condition today is much more difficult than many people expect. The year 1939 is also an interesting moment in world history. The global conflict known as World War II was beginning in Europe, and the world was entering a period of dramatic change. While the United States had not yet entered the war, the economy and manufacturing industries were already preparing for major shifts that would soon affect everything from materials to coin production. The 1939 wheat penny was produced using the traditional copper alloy that had been used for decades, about 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. Over time, copper reacts with air and moisture, causing coins to change color. Many older pennies turn dark brown after decades of circulation, while others retain a bright reddish tone if they were preserved carefully. Condition plays the biggest role in determining the value of a 1939 wheat penny with no mint mark. Most coins from this era circulated heavily for many years. They were used for everyday purchases, passed between countless hands, and often stored loosely in jars or drawers. Because of this, many surviving coins today show worn details and scratches. However, coins that escaped heavy circulation are much more desirable. When collectors find a 1939 penny with sharp details and Lincoln's hair, clear lettering, and strong wheat lines on the reverse, the coin immediately becomes more valuable. Coins that still display their original bright copper color, known as red by collectors, are especially prized because they show minimal aging. Professional grading services, such as Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, carefully examine coins and assign grades based on their condition. These grades range from heavily worn coins to near-perfect mint-state examples. The higher the grade, the rarer and more valuable the coin usually becomes. For many collectors, the thrill of searching for wheat pennies is the possibility of discovering a rare high-grade example in an unexpected place. Old bank rolls, inherited coin collections, and even forgotten jars of change have produced surprising discoveries over the years. Because these coins were so common in everyday life decades ago, some were quietly stored away without anyone realizing their future value. Even though the 1939 wheat penny without a mint mark is not considered the rarest coin in the series, it still holds strong collector demand. Its historical significance, classic design, and connection to the early years of the wheat cent era make it an important piece for many collections. When exceptional examples appear in auctions, collectors often compete intensely for them. High-grade coins with brilliant red surfaces and nearly perfect details are extremely scarce today because very few survived decades of circulation in such pristine condition. One outstanding example of the 1939 wheat penny with no mint mark reached an impressive price when it was sold through heritage auctions. A superb coin graded MS 68 red achieved a sale price of around $11,400, proving that even a tiny 1-cent coin can become a valuable collector's item when preserved in extraordinary condition. So if you ever come across a 1939 wheat penny without a mint mark, don't dismiss it as ordinary change. Examine it closely, check its condition, and consider having it evaluated by professionals. That small copper coin could be a valuable piece of history that collectors around the world would love to add to their collections.